Okay. Well, welcome welcome. We had to change the name. Sorry, we had to rebrand last minute. So welcome to Veterans Owned Business Week Lunch and Learn. It's good to have everybody. We've got a great surprise in store. My name is Rachel Switzer. I am the project coordinator for the Boost to Business program. And during this week, or even I'd say this month rather, of November, we're honoring our veterans, particularly for business entrepreneurial vets is our focus. And we hold these workshops throughout the week so that we can provide educational opportunities, opportunities to network with other veterans, as well as see what resources and tools are available. Because I know when I started my business many years ago, I did not know there were so many wonderful things in play. So now I'm very passionate about helping others access those resources so they can have a little bit of a better trajectory in the beginnings. So like I said, we teach Boost to Business classes. I'm with the VBOC, which also stands for Veterans Business Outreach Center. We cover the entire state of Florida. And we work right now, we have 14 different military installations that we work with the TAP program there. So as people are transitioning, and Emilio will tell a little bit about his experience, but as military individuals are transitioning into civilian life, they go through a TAP program, and where we come into play is we teach business fundamental classes, among other things, business counseling and other resources like that, help them with review their business plans and financial sheets, anything that they need. It's kind of like a coach and a little bit of help while they're moving through that journey of entrepreneurship. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, Emilio and Laura Lindsay. We appreciate having you and you guys taking the time to share your different professional journey with us today. Emilio, I'll go ahead and introduce you, and if I miss anything, go ahead and fill in the gaps when you hop in. You can kind of, because this is really impressive. Now, this is really interesting, and I thought it to myself several times because I didn't want it to. It's kind of a mouthful. You have like a lot of experience. You're very well versed in lots of things. So you're a U.S. retired U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer 4. That's kind of a mouthful right there. You can tell more about that. And a Black Hawk aviator, right? So you've done that, which you'll have to tell me a little bit more about that. That's something you can share in your story. But you did do managing safety programs and looks like assault flight missions. This all sounds like very interesting. It was very interesting. So I'm excited to hear about that. And then you can tell us a little bit about your business, the Resilience Building Leadership Program, and some of the programs that you provide, and tell us a little bit about your journey. So I'll go ahead and pass the baton over to you, Emilio. And then you want to tell us a little bit about a little bit about your chapter in the military, and then you're transitioning into civilian life, what you did, what you think is a good idea to do, what some tips are helpful. And then tell us a little about your entrepreneurial journey, how you met Laura, and then the book kind of came into play and came into fruition. And and a little synopsis on the book. And then we can pass it to Laura. I know that's a mouthful. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to you, Emilio.
I think I'll start with your first part, which was Chief Warrant Officer 4, retired. Yes, that's a mouthful. That's why no one in aviation uses rank whatsoever. It's all first names. I didn't know anybody's last name for years. I mean, it's always first names. It sounds very not military using first names, but aviation, we're a little different. Just first names only. If you're calling my full rank out, it's like your mom, calling you upstairs using your full, first, last, and middle initial, middle name to call you upstairs, get you in trouble. So you're in trouble if you use the entire rank most of the times. And by the time you try to use my entire rank, I'm already out the door, walking away because I didn't hear that, because by the time you get to my name, it was already gone. So, but I did. What's exciting to be here. I'm in Panama City, by the way. I think you're in Panama City. Laura is not in Panama City. She is
unfortunately I am not.
outside the state of Florida. She's an outsider, but we'll get to her in a short bit because we like her. I like her. But I started my military journey in the Air Force. I enlisted from Enterprise, Alabama, into the Air Force. And I spent, I think, 8 years and some change in the Air Force as an HVAC mechanic, working on air conditioners and heaters and boilers and making things that were supposed to be hot, cold, and things that were supposed to be cold, hot. That's basically the nuts and bolts of that one. Then the Warrant Officer program came up on my radar, and I was like, you know what? We should do that. So I applied once, didn't make it, applied twice, didn't make it. And then the big surge happened in 2007. They said, hey, we need everybody. Come on in. So I got in. And then I went to flight school right up the road here at Fort Rucker, Alabama, which back then it should be a 1 year school, give or take, but I think took 2.5 years because we have what we call bubbles. And what happens is you have bubbles in training, which you get through some training, and then there's a backup down this end, and it starts stacking backwards. So you have a 3 week off period, go back to training, another month off, training, nothing. So a 1 year school took about 2.5 years at that point in time. So at that point, I selected Blackhawks and became a Blackhawk pilot, which was kind of nifty overall. So that's what I did the remainder of my career, was being a Blackhawk pilot. I was able to, after Fort Rucker, I went to Korea for about 2.5 years, flew some assault missions over there, flew some really cool stuff, got to learn the aircraft a little better. Then Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which I got to fly in the medevac, which is one of the greatest adventures of your life. If you've never flown medevac, I highly recommend it. It is probably the best time in your life. Just waiting around for that one call, then you get to go, and then you're back again. So it's a lot of waiting, and then a high, and then a lot of waiting after that. So, but it's exciting at the same time. I went to Honduras after Fort Campbell, which we got to tour around all of Central America, which was probably hands down. I hate to say it to anybody who might be listening in the future or knows me, hands down the best assignment I had in 22 years was Honduras. Sotocano, Honduras. Got to fly everywhere between Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, everything in that Beach Boys song, I think, is where we flew at the end of the day. So it was an exciting time the entire time I was there. And then I ended my career at Fort Bliss in Texas, which everybody, when you get orders to Fort Bliss, Texas, everybody goes, it's El Paso. If everybody's from Texas, Texans are proud of Texas. People love Texas who are in Texas. Texans love Texas, and Texans love Texas. Gotta say it over and over again. But El Paso is not the typical Texas. It's far, far west. It's almost like an overseas assignment, if you will, because you're nowhere near anything. If you go between San Antonio and El Paso, you are driving through every 1960s Western movie. It is just desolate desert, and you can imagine, like, man, imagine just everybody coming. Oh man, this is neat, kind of thing. Nothing between there and El Paso. Then you get to El Paso, and it's probably the largest city I've ever lived in my entire life. I scale cities by how many Walmarts there are in town. That's how I kind of gauge how big a city is. Enterprise, Alabama, one Walmart, pretty small town. Fort Campbell, Clarksville has a couple Walmarts, but El Paso, I think it had like 50. I don't know how many Walmarts it had, but it had a lot of Walmarts, and it was a very big town. And I loved everything about Fort Bliss. Huge training area, great Mexican food, great pizza also, which is weird. But we enjoyed that assignment. And from there, I deployed out of Afghanistan, to Afghanistan, out of Fort Campbell twice. Never made it to Iraq. Not an Iraq guy. I can give you a tour of Afghanistan pretty well, which is also a beautiful country, minus all the conflict there. But overall, if you look at it, very pretty overall. But at that point in time, Fort Bliss, I was there. It was my last assignment, and I retired out of Fort Bliss, which was perfect because it was during COVID. Which was even more perfect because we started doing everything like this, which if you ever tried something new and try to retire, it is not fun at the same time. So we did all the typical meetings you would do, out processing everything through Teams or Zoom at that point in time. They were kind of going back and forth on that side of the house. So when I did my transition assistance TAPS, SFL TAPS to the Army, it was all through email and Teams. If you can imagine sitting in a classroom for 8 hours physically, now subtract the classroom and do it from a computer screen like this, where no one knows how to operate Teams because it's the first time anybody's used Teams, trying to figure out how to share something. Are you seeing me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Kind of thing, which was perfect overall. So I will say that my TAPS experience was different than the majority of people. Whereas I attended many TAPS through Fort Bliss, but at that time, Fort Lewis was doing TAPS just like this, and they would put it on LinkedIn or Facebook or something. I would just tag into that one. Somewhere at Fort Belvoir or Nellis or a different Air Force base was doing their TAPS, I would just kind of jump in that one just to see what the information was different, if there was different information at the same time. A lot of good information. Some information varied, which was kind of shocking. So that kind of brings me to where I screwed up on certain things during my transition. My transition was, like I said, bouncing around between these two, trying to see which one was similar. And I have a notepad somewhere, I got to find it, but certain dates where they say you have XYZ for 180 days post-retirement, you have this for post 120, this ends this ends here, this is where this ends. I will go to my grave stating that they have written down on my notepad 120 days for dental insurance. That was a false statement that I either heard or wrote down, because it ends the day you retire. Just FYI, that ends at midnight. At the stroke of midnight, your retirement date, you're done with dental insurance. So did not know that. And so when I try to get my dental insurance, they said, oh, you've had a gap in dental insurance. So now we got to start over. And I didn't know that because I've been coddled my entire life with the military with insurance. So you learn lessons that way, right? You learn that you should be proactively retiring or separating probably 2.5, 3 years prior to when you think you are going to retire or separate, right? Everybody waits for the last 6 months or that last year. You really should be looking at things probably now. Even if you're at 10 years, look now. If you're at 15 years, look now. If you're at 19 years, you should be looking now faster than everybody else. Just because you're trying to catch up. That time goes by fast. That 1 year, that 2 years, that 3 years, that 4, it goes by fast. And no one realizes it because it drags. The first 10 years drags. You're like, oh, I'll never make it, kind of thing. But you get there. One of the most important things I will say about that is, and I posted this the other day on LinkedIn, and it goes around every once in a while. If you are talking to somebody about retiring or separating from the military and they are still in uniform, stop talking to them because they don't know what they don't know at that point in time. They have good intentions, probably. I don't think it's malice, but I equate it to talking to a barracks lawyer about your upcoming Article 15. You're talking to your friends about getting in trouble, UCMJ stuff. They're not lawyers. They don't know. Talk to somebody who's been out, who's tripped and bumped and fell down a couple of times, who's failed at a business, who has failed at job applications, who has succeeded at all these stuff. Pick their brains at the end of the day. Find that person who has retired and who's been through it or separated, been through it. But don't talk to the buddy to your left saying, what do you think about this? Because they're going through it too at the same time. They have no new information. They think they do. You might think they do. They don't. But everybody gets fooled at the same time. But that's really the driving point of that one. And then lastly is, if you are an officer or a senior NCO in the Army or the military in general, no one cares the next day. So get all your stuff done before you retire, because a lot of folks, you're just Mr. So-and-so, you're just Mrs. So-and-so the day after you retire. So you approach it that way. Approach it that you need to get these things done while you're still in and while you still have access to a lot of these things. So you lose access to a lot. You lose access to your email. which a lot of people didn't think about that prior to. I need to copy these emails, forward these emails, do X, Y, Z, and then they retire. It's all gone. It's floating somewhere in a cloud somewhere. I don't know where it works. But prepping yourself, getting that stuff ahead of time. Now, on the flip side, I think a lot of people stress about getting that job the very next day or starting the business the very next day, right? Relax, relax. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. You're going to have a paycheck or two to kind of float you over. Then your retirement is going to kick in. Maybe your disability check. If you planned it ahead, you don't need a job day zero after retirement. You cut people stress, and then they don't get that break in between. They don't get that decompression time where you go from go 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 to, oh, what am I going to do today, kind of thing. So it's a different beast, and you got to kind of forget one, move to the next one, because it's a totally different thing going from 20 plus years in the military to a day job on certain things. I have many texts that I kept over the years when I was on Zoom, and I would say something to my civilian counterparts after I retired that they took offense to, which I didn't think you should take offense to, but I was just being forward. Like, that is dumb. You can't say that in the civilian world. I didn't know that. You can say in the Army all day long, but in the civilian world, everybody gets upset. So you've got to kind of decompress yourself and kind of work on things ahead of time. So don't stress about getting that job day zero after retirement or getting right out. It will happen. And if you're networking ahead of time and you're getting out there on LinkedIn, you're getting out there at the Veterans Business Outreach Center and making contact with people like you ahead of time, not when you absolutely need it, you'll be able to kind of pace yourself and understand it better, right? And I think a lot of people, they procrastinate a little bit, and then they move forward. And that's how they have. Then they're moving frantically, and then they haphazardly do things, and they kind of do stuff half. I don't know how to say it without having saying half-assed, with doing that direction, right? So you kind of want to make sure that you're planning ahead, just like you do any other mission in the military. You don't go out there and just take the keys to a helicopter and just go fly. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if you could, but you have to plan it a little bit. You have to plan where you're going. Is there gas at that place? Is there a good burger joint nearby? Is there a car available to get you to that burger joint? What time you have to be back? Who are you picking up? You're planning all these things. Same thing with your transition. When you retire, you have to plan a little bit. Now, on my end, I had about a year, because with the pandemic happening, COVID happening, and everybody shutting down and half manning and Zoom meetings, my retirement got stretched out for over a year, just because of the situation, and people weren't there, and people were only taking in-person appointments once a week or something. So I got to kind of fumble through it while still on active duty, which kind of worked out for me. And what I did during that time, SkillBridge, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with SkillBridge, but SkillBridge wasn't really happening during that point in time. So I created my own SkillBridge. I found a Lean Six Sigma certification that I wanted to take, a certificate training I wanted to take. And I did the online training, yellow belt, green belt, and the black belt. I did it. And then I started working for that company on a volunteer basis. I didn't want to get paid because I thought it was kind of janky that I was working there, still in the Army, and then they wanted me to talk to all military folks. And I thought it was kind of weird being a Chief Warrant Officer for blah 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 blah, talking to an E4 saying you should do this, or an E5 saying you should do this, sort of thing. It felt weird. So I was like, hey, I'll talk to him. I don't want any commission. I don't want anything from you. I just want the experience. And if you write me a letter of recommendation at the end, that'd be kind of cool. So you got to kind of create those opportunities. So I worked for them for about 6 months during my retirement scenario there. And then when things started heating back up on the retirement side, I said, hey, I've got to kind of dial back now. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me, but I got to focus on retiring now. I've got to start doing those other stuff. So fast forward, after I was fully retired, they offered me a job at the end of the day. And so I got to work there from home and do the same thing I was kind of doing, and kind of transitioned a little more into the entire process instead of just focusing on the military. Now, would they have me talk to military folks? Yes, because I spoke military. right? I speak the language that they didn't. So I was able to kind of translate between the military and them. So that worked out for them. But then the current job I have, I work at the Resilience Building Leader Program as the chief of strategy. The reason I work there is because I got a certification through them while I was in the Army. And I kept up with them. I networked with the owner. I networked with the chief of people, the chief of where else. I just networked with them on LinkedIn. I talked to them. I would share their posts. I would talk to them, say, this is great stuff. That's kind of neat. Hey, that's kind of cool. And then so I became an instructor for them on the side. And then as that came forward, they hired me full time. They called me up and said, hey, I have a job for you. I think I told you guys a story. I got bullied into a job, I believe. I think the boss that owns the place bullied me. He said, hey, I got a job for you. I said, well, I've got a job. He said, hey, but we can start Monday. I said, I've got a job. He said, we'll send the offer letter. I said, but I've got a job. He's like, we'll see you after Labor Day. I said, okay. So opportunities happen like that. It's through networking and talking and working your connection that way. It's not I have a bronze star and I did all kinds of cool stuff. That stuff's neat. That's awesome. It's great stories. It helps you build who you are today. But 95% of the people out there don't know what a bronze star, don't know what an achievement medal is, don't know what a combination medal is. It just looks nice it looks nice. That's about it. So you got to kind of change your mind frame. I think a lot of folks don't do that. They're stuck in I was a senior NCO, I was an officer, I did this, I did that. Why are not people not knocking down my door right now, invite me in, tell me to fix the entire place because I can do it? Because they're not. It might happen, but for the majority of us, people like me, it's not. It was just making friends, which a lot of people say don't do online. But I made friends online. I started chatting online on certain things, and that's how I got to be where I'm at with the Resilience Building Leader Program. Is because I just started sharing things, talk about it. I liked what they had, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, come on in. Let's do this kind of thing." But I think the biggest problem a lot of folks have is the TAPS program is awesome. However, it's towards the end of your career, and you're focused on so many different things at that point in time. I'm going to move the family. Do I get to keep the dog? Where am I going to buy a house? Where am I going to do this? Where am I going to do that? Oh my gosh, this, that, and that. TAPS becomes an afterthought, which is not good because there's a lot of good information there. You got to if you can go TAPS a little earlier, which I think you're allowed to, right? I think you're allowed to go like a year prior. Go as soon as you can. You can always go back. You can always go back and ask questions. Check out the VOBC. Hey, I'm about to get out in 2 years. What are my options? What can you do for me? Ask those questions. I don't think that Rachel's going to knock down everybody's door as a retiring. Hey, I heard you're retiring. Let's talk. You've got to go to her a little bit here. You've got to go out to her and say, I'm about to retire. I'm about to separate. What do you offer? And if it's nothing you like, we check that box and we move on. However, if it's something that you're like, hey, I want to start a business, you write down Rachel's name and you stay in contact with her every once in a while. Hey, just checking in. I got 8 months to go. I got 2 years to go. Whatever you got left, and you kind of build that relationship as you go. Because waiting until the last minute, I've seen a lot of folks. They start frantically moving, and this is not just for like the E4, the E7, the W4. I've seen O6s in the same position. I've had many meetings with different O6s retired who are just like, I thought it'd be easy. You're like, yeah, you thought so, huh? It's not. You got to work it. Just because you were doing cool things before, this is a whole different chapter. So you kind of got to realize that ahead of time. If you do that, it's perfect. I think the best way of doing that is literally going out and talk to somebody. Not to a therapist. Talk to a therapist. I don't care. My wife's a therapist, so I have nothing against them. But if you go talk to a therapist. But I'm talking about LinkedIn. Rachel and I talked about Alignable. We're not really sure about that one yet. We're still playing around with Alignable. However, Alignable, Facebook groups, other things like that. I'll give you for an example. I met a guy in a Facebook group. Sounds weird. On a safety Facebook group, right? I'm a safety officer. I've been a safety officer my entire life. I love safety. If it's painted yellow, I love it, kind of thing. But I met him in there, and he was talking about Lean Six Sigma. I said, well, I work at a Lean Six Sigma company right now. Let's do it. And so he got his yellow belt, green belt, black belt. Now he works for me at Training 101 as my instructors. So how does that even work? It doesn't work because I waited for someone to knock on my door. We started interacting on these different groups because like-minded, you have those communities that you enjoy. Other people think the same thing. Do it. Kind of look into those groups. If you're into safety, look at safety groups. If you're into crocheting or making knickknacks, uh, go to those groups. Start networking, and that's the best way that you should be doing it. Probably now, if you're even thinking about retiring, now you do it now. But that's what kind of got me interested into getting into my own business. So when I worked at Resilience Building Leader Program as an instructor, they decided to say, hey, we can't teach this in-house anymore. It's a certification, right? It's the only nationally recognized leadership certification ever, right? It's a difference between a certificate and a certification. We can go down that rabbit hole later. However, when they decided that we can't teach it in-house because we're a certification, you got to kind of separate training and exams. They said, hey, do you want to become an authorized training partner with us? You can still teach it, you just own your own company. I was traveling with the family in a camper to the Southwest. I said, no, thank you. That sounds terrible. And they said, cool. Well, I ended up opening my own company. Now, I should have done it years prior, but opening your own company is no joke either, right? So now you're owning your own company. You are it at first. There's no staff. And a lot of folks, they forget about that part. There's no IT staff. There's no operations staff. In the very beginning, it's you. You are all and none at the same time. So you're trying to figure all this out. Once again, so many resources out there, but you got to find them. You got to be able to reach out and say, hey, Rachel, I'm kind of doing this thing. Is there something here that you can, point me in a direction? Kind of thing, because she has all the resources right there. But you don't know until you reach out and network, right? And that's the important part, is really just finding out how to do this. But opening the business here in Florida it's fun because you have to go to sunbiz.org, which I think doesn't sound right. Sunbiz. It doesn't. They need a better name for that website, because I had to Google it probably 20 times to make sure it was legit, because it sounds like something you just got off like your phone, and you're like, oh, it's Sunbiz, okay. But you going through that and looking at those resources and going through opening that up, that's probably the easiest part, is filling that paperwork out, opening that part of the business. After that, everything. What website? How's the website going to look? Are you going to hire someone to do a website? Are you going to have social media? Who's going to have a social media marketer? You have content. How are you going to do all these things? And so it gets intense. But having a network of people who have other entrepreneurs, man, it makes it easier. It really does. You have other people out there who have the same problems and issues or wins or losses that you have. You can talk and kind of go back and forth, which kind of leads me into how Laura and I met. And then there's a little backstory before the backstory, if you will. So my business partner, John King, if he's not even watching, no one see him on here. Thanks, John. He likes reality TV. It's embarrassing. I'll call him out on that one, but he likes it. But he signed us up for a reality TV show called The Blocks, BLOX. This show is based on all entrepreneurs. It's all entrepreneur based, and you submit an application and you get accepted or denied. But when you get there, it's a competition based show with just entrepreneurs. It's either pre-launch. I think the criteria for the max size $1 million. I think, but it's ran superbly. You have about 150 contestants in there, and they all have the same problem you have, or they've had the same problem you've had, or they solved the problem you just had. Sort of deal. So you're able to talk and be able to work out, hey, I have this problem with marketing. I have this problem with this. You're like, oh, I do too. And you can talk. It's all about the networking, right? So when I've always kicked around this idea about writing a book. I've always thought about writing a book about either one or two topics. One, I wanted to write a book about Lean Six Sigma, or I wanted to write a book about warrant officers because I'm a warrant officer, a chief warrant officer for, right? And my thing was I don't have enough stories as an army dude to. I don't think I can make some up, but I don't think I have enough to make an entire book all based on myself. And it's not that exciting just to hear Emilio stories all the time. So I wanted to get a series of short stories from different warrant officers in the world I've met, right? So I sent out an email to 30 warrant officers and I said, hey, this is my idea. I would like to do this. If you would like to contribute, cool. No topic. Just go with what story do you tell at the bar? What story do you tell at a barbecue? What story is your most favorite story to tell? So I was there. Check this out, right? And out of 30, I got about 29. Heck yeah, we'll do it. Heck yeah. However, I love being a warrant officer. I just know them as a breed of people. Heck yeah doesn't mean anything. So I got 12 back. Out of the 29. And out of those 12, I had to hey man, what's up? What are you doing? Hey, come on. And I've got a couple, I'm working on it. I'm working on it kind of thing. So I had these stories sitting on this laptop for about 3 years. I just kept looking at them and I would try to, and they're all over the place because I didn't give any criteria. I just said, tell me your best story. I didn't say, tell a story about flying. I didn't say, tell a story about doing this. I said, just tell me a story. So I had 12, 15 stories that were all over the place. There's not a single line of continuity between any of them. So they sat this laptop and I would drive myself insane. Fast forward, I decided, you know what? I like it. We're going to keep it here, but let's try to do a quick win. And I like pick your own adventure books when I was a kid. So I was like, let me write my own pick your own adventure book, but base it off Lean Six Sigma methodologies, where you kind of walk through a real life problem and kind of go that direction. But you get to pick your own problem and your solutions and stuff like that. And so I started writing that on the flip side. Because I'm really passionate about warrant officers, and I'm really passionate about Lean Six Sigma, two things I like, right? And you kind of go with that direction. Now, I have these two things on a Word doc on my computer here, and they're just sitting or rotting away. I go back to the Blocks Facebook group that we have. All the seasons are on there, seasons 1 through 16 at a time. I think they're 20 now. But I put on that group, hey, I got these two books. Does anybody know of an editor or somebody? What are my next steps? That kind of thing. And I got, hey, use ChatGPT. I was like, I don't want that. I can use that for grammar, right? I can use that for just trying to use that to check my sentence structure and make sure it looks good. But I don't want it to write the entire thing. That seems a little cheating to me. Maybe it's not. I don't know if AI is listening. I love you. However, what the robots to come. But I got that. I got 3 other suggestions, right? I got one suggestion, and we chatted on Facebook Messenger. I didn't like the way she chatted, so I moved on. I'm that petty. Yeah, I like the way you text. Move on. I met with one lady, and I said, let me back up. And I met with Laura. Laura and I had a 30-minute meeting, and I said, it was supposed to be 30 minutes, lasted an hour. I said, we're good. I was very upfront and honest. I said, Laura, I have one more meeting with one more editor. I promised her I got till Tuesday to do it, blah, blah. So I went to this meeting on Tuesday, knowing I was going with Laura ahead of time. However, I wanted to see, I gave this, we wanted to at least talk it through. I liked her. She was very nice. However, Laura and I clicked at the very beginning, and that's how I met Laura on that side of the house. So it was going through a networking group where I met people in Oklahoma on a TV show that I didn't want to go to, that I tried to get out of the day prior and still was forced to go. Going to a Facebook group, networking in there, getting some recommendations, getting some really, really work recommendations, but getting recommended Laura, and then meeting Laura. And then Laura and I sat down and I said, hey, I have these 2 books. What do you want to do? And she's like, tell me about them. So, and yeah, the rest is history kind of thing. And Laura and I have probably been attached at the hip since last March doing things. So if anybody has met Laura, this is Laura.
Hello.
But that's our story. That's how we met at the end of the day. That was how we got together and we kind of moved forward and we kind of we're here today. We try to do everything, at least book wise, together. And because we were a team, we got this through together. She was a part of it. She helped me connect those continuity gaps between the Warrant Officer stories there. And then I think you can argue this, we completely underestimated the Pick Your Own Adventure book at the end of the day.
Yes, we did.
So, but yeah, it's been a good adventure with Laura and I. We've had a good time, and having someone there to either like I don't know what to do with this paragraph. I don't know how to write this sentence. I don't know what to do, sort of deal. It's helpful when you're trying to write something and you get stuck and you get writer's block kind of thing. She even one day she's like, Tuesday morning, you and me, 8 o'clock your time, 9 o'clock my time, going line by line with this book with you. And I will take notes. I will write things on the side, and we'll just talk it through. Talk it, and then because sometimes you forget what happens when you hear it here, right? You're like, ugh, kind of thing. So, but I won't take all your glory, Laura. Why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
No, you're
a little
good.
bit.
As you know, I could listen to you talk for a long time and talk back at you for a very long time. So, no, thank you. Thank you for that very sweet introduction. And yeah, it was through networking and just kind of by chance that Emilio and I happened to connect. I don't think I would have ever met him had we not had a mutual connection in that group. And it was like Emilio said, it's just pretty much immediate. I loved his vibe and just the way that he approached things. And I've worked with veterans before, but he's definitely one of a kind. And I just really liked his approach to stuff. I thought it was very practical. And of course, I like your sense of humor sometimes. But, it was really cool to watch it all come together because, like you said, Amelia, you didn't really know what to do with these two things that you had sitting on your computer. And like so many people that I meet, they have an idea, but they don't really know how to see it through to the finish line. And that's the biggest part of my job that I enjoy is helping people see that their idea is valid and it can be applied to so many different places, probably places that they're not even thinking of in some circumstances. And just watching them kind of find themselves as writers, find themselves as entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And watching them kind of gain that confidence and seeing their idea really come to life in the form of a book is just something that gives me a lot of joy. And yeah, I love coming to stuff like this and just talking about those journeys. I think, especially for veterans, it's the few that I have worked with, I've heard a very consistent comment of like, retiring is terrifying and complicated, and it's a really big transition that I don't think civilians like myself, who have never even considered joining the military in any shape or fashion, we don't really think about that. We don't think that there's this whole group of people that run our country every single day, and then one day that role ends, and they don't really have a specific place to land. They can choose where to land. And every single veteran that I've worked with, their life outside of the military has turned into something that they kind of expected, but every single one of them has been surprised by what happens after. And I think that it's just really inspiring to see that whether it's writing a book or starting your own business or joining something that already exists that you just makes you happy, that there is something outside of that first part of your life, that first phase of your journeys. So yeah, writing these two books has been a serious joy. So There I Was is completely different from Lean Six Sigma, but they each have a lot of really, I think, interesting pages. And especially Lean Six, I didn't really know a whole lot about Lean Six Sigma before we started working together, but just learning about the business aspect of it, but also seeing Emilio's, like I said, sense of humor and just way of approaching things in that book was really enjoyable. And I think anybody could read it and get stuff out of it, even if you have no plans on running a business or being in that world. I think that you can still apply it to, I don't know, stuff in your house. Like I think about that book when I'm approaching new projects, new authors that I want to work with, I think about Lean Six. I think about you have to have a process to do it. You can't just throw things at a wall and see what sticks. You need to know the processes that work for you as well as what doesn't work for you. So yeah, he's taught me a lot. He's taught me a lot, and hopefully I've taught him a couple things along the way. So
One or two things, right? But I think the best part is writing that book for Lean Six Sigma about process improvement. We created a new process for writing
we
a book
did.
for Pick Your
We
Own
did.
Adventure books,
Yes.
because the process we started, Rachel, was the not the right one.
No,
it was
a
not
mess.
right at all. We thought it would be like easy peasy. Put the page numbers down. 2 weeks
Be
tops.
done.
We have a task list. We have a board on our Google Workspace that we have due dates. This is our our proposed due date. It was Cinco de Mayo was going to be the day this book was going to be done. Nowhere close. We were nowhere close to that date. We unpredicted that one
Do you
incorrectly.
guys, I don't mean to interrupt, just
No,
briefly,
you're
do you have a link that we can drop in that? I was just looking while you were talking and trying to find where
Yeah,
this book
For the
could
book?
be
I'll let
purchased.
Emilio
Do you have
find it.
links you can drop in here? So
Yeah,
that,
so Lean Six is out. It's available on Amazon. We are still working on an ebook version of this book. That is another thing we learned, is that the print version way different than an ebook version. So still trying to figure out how to make that consumable and nice on the eyes and not frightening like it like it looks at the moment.
great.
But so there I was, is actually in the middle of being approved by the DoD, and obviously in the middle of our shutdown right now. That's not really main priority, which I completely understand. In my world, it's the main priority, not so much in theirs. So yeah, we're waiting on that one to come, but we'll of course be sharing it all over our socials when it does finally make its appearance in the world. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Which is something else we learned that maybe somebody out there in your world didn't know about, is if you write anything about the military, it must go through the Department of Defense, Department of War, we're calling this week, for approval. It has to be reviewed by two different components out there, and they give you a yes or no, or they ask you to change, or hey, that's not correct, or you don't give away state secrets, which my book wasn't. But they ask for photographs, they ask for everything that you're going to include the book. So if you're thinking about writing a book about your military experience, kind of factor that into the timeline a little bit, because there's not many people knew about that, and we didn't know a whole lot about it, and we thought. And of course, Laura volunteered, I'll take care of all that back end work. And she submitted, they said, are you the author? She said, no. They go, we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, we don't want to hear from you. We don't care.
But I think,
like, I was just trying to help. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's been a learning experience for sure.
But I think the main point of this whole entire thing is I would have never met Rachel if I didn't just email Brenton, right? And reach out to him and network with him. And then Rachel and I had a meeting, right? I would have never met Laura if I didn't reach out in that group and network there. I would never have done a lot of things I did post-military career without networking and talking, and just either talking to you, hey, I don't like you, hey, you like me, let's move on, kind of thing. It's all about networking. It's different than what you did as a military coach. A lot of people say it's who you know. That might work for certain things, who you know, like for different assignments or different kind of stuff, but it's really based on rank, what job you have, and there's different criteria. This way is, I mean, at the end of the day, your office could have said, hey, cool story, bro. And that's it. You know what I mean? And just kind of moved on, right? Instead, we started talking back and forth. Hey, I'm here in Panama City. You're in Panama City. I'm in Panama City. We have that connection, right? And we start talking. We start moving forward outside the house, staying with Laura. I think that is one of the main things, even for entrepreneurs getting out there. Just like with my Training 101 Academy, I don't know what I don't know. I learned from the company I worked at. I learned things off Laura's website. I learned things off this website. I learned things off this one. You have to talk to people and kind of find that happy middle where you don't go broke trying to do all this crazy stuff because you're just starting off. But find it so you're not down here when you do Google searches, way over here, kind of thing. So you got to find that happy middle, but you don't know what that middle is unless you're talking to people. And that's the main part. Just like this book, the second book, talking to you guys, it's all about networking for entrepreneurs, people retiring, even if you don't want to go into business on your own, right? Even if you're like, I don't want to do it, still network, because you can end up with somebody who is starting their own business. And you're like, oh, I do know a resource over here. I do. Let's go talk to these people over here. They can sit down, and talking to you, I didn't realize the VBOC, the VOC I didn't know you guys kind of segmented your counseling. I.e., like you have different kind of counselings for different kind of businesses. I learned that the other day because it kind of makes sense, right? My business is different than going out and starting a peanut farm somewhere, right? So I didn't know you guys offered that kind of counseling or at least guidance on that side of the house. And again, talking, researching, and kind of networking, which is all exciting. And that's why I couldn't finish these 2 books without having her whatsoever. Because I was driving myself insane. Just going in circles, going, I know what to do. I'm a smart person.
Right.
Which you are. You have your zones of genius, and so do I. And what I love too about our relationship, and what I encourage everyone to do all the time, is just don't be afraid to ask for help or say that you don't know something. I had to ask Emilio the other day. He pointed out a typo on something, and I was like, what is it supposed to say? And he was like, this is what it's supposed to say. I was like, oh, right. Yes, of course. Like, just don't be afraid to be like, I don't know what I don't know, and I need some help. And can you help me? And if it's a no, it's a no, and you move forward. But I think just opening yourself up to those resources, like Emilio said, and not being afraid. Again, I hear from a lot of veterans that I work with, like, I just didn't really want to ask for help because you're not really expected in the military, I guess, to go out and be like, I need help here. I've never been in the military. I don't know if that's true, but people that I've worked with have said it's not really encouraged to just volunteer that you don't know what you're talking about. So when you're networking, sometimes it helps to be like, I don't really know this side, and I would love to connect with you and see if maybe I can teach you a couple things about my zone of genius and where I really do well, and you can teach me things in the meantime. And I think that's, in my experience networking, that's where I found the most success, is if you can just be really candid about what you can offer and at the same time what you can't, and see if the other person can help you. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if we could recap, what were some of the top 3 things? Networking, ask for help. What was the takeaway? What would you say? Is there a couple more things in there?
I would say
mean,
put
just
yourself
bullet
out there,
point.
put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to just tell the world or your networking group or wherever you're at what you offer. Emilio is really great on LinkedIn. I'm not so much a LinkedIn person, but I'm just posting all the time about what he's doing, what he can offer people, what, people offer him in networking. I just feel like being candid about what you're up to, and people will know that they can come to you and have a real conversation. If you're real in your marketing and the way that you approach things, you will find other real people to actually help you. So.
And I will put a plug in for Laura on this one. And what she told me is everybody has a story.
Yes.
So
that is my tagline for sure.
So everybody has a story. So even if you don't think you do, you do. And it can be about networking with business, or it could be writing a book. You can apply that either way. So it's just go with that.
Yes. Yeah, people love storytelling in any regard, in marketing, when you're starting a new business, whatever it is that you're doing, even if you're going out to just find a job, people love to know your story. It helps us connect to one another and find your people. It's the quickest way to learn if someone can maybe offer you something that furthers your own journey. So I think, like I said, just being really honest and authentic is one of the easiest ways to grow your business, as cheesy as that might sound. So.
It's it's true. It's tried and true principle.
Yeah, it is.
So I have a question. So
Mhm.
and maybe I'm spot on, maybe I'm not, but with these books, are they intended to correlate with the particular workshops that you are offering at RBLP?
Training 101. So my business is Training 101. I work for RBLP, but the Lean Six Sigma book does kind of go hand in hand with the Lean Six Sigma workshops that I offer.
Okay.
So we do the workshop, and you can kind of take the book home, review it, and it kind of gives a storyline behind it. It's based off a pizza store, a pizza shop, because it's easy to kind of, if you what I didn't like about the old textbook, about the old books about Lean Six Sigma, and I get a lot of guff on it from all the Lean Six Sigma nerds, but it's all dry textbooks. You know, I mean, it's all define the problem. That. Well, that's in there too. Don't get me wrong. There's some of that because there has to be some of that in there. But I'm trying to imagine as I'm reading these textbooks and these manuals, how would I apply this and at XYZ business, what I'm doing right now, what process I'm trying to do. What we did here was we gave you a backdrop of a pizza place, Stella's Pizza. And Stella's Pizza is going through some major changes right now. It has long wait times. It has bad customer reviews. It has different things that you'll see in a regular business, but you're able to imagine it opposed to trying to figure out what is this textbook talking about? Lean is getting rid of waste. Okay, that's neat, but how? How are you doing that? So what we did was we took the book, we put it as a backdrop behind Stella's Pizza. We put characters in there. There's dialogue, there's storytelling, and it's not just define the problem. Your
Right.
goal statement should be SMART. It has that in there because you got to have that in there. If not, you're not really instructing too much. But with the backdrop of a story, you're able to kind of imagine yourself walking through that process with Stella's Pizza and their employees going through there. And then at every so often, you'll reach a decision point, is what we call it, a decision point, where you can choose this or that.
Mhm.
And if you choose this, it might lead you down this path, which might be great. Or if you chose that, it could lead you down this path, which did not end up so well. So we got to go back. We got to start over at a certain starting point. And so we kind of walked that one. But the biggest thing was it does correlate with the stuff I offer at Training 101 Academy, because we do offer Lean Six Sigma, Yellow Belt, and Green Belt workshops. But even if you didn't want to attend the workshop, which I hope you do, I mean, that's business, right? I hope you attend everything I offer. But if you don't attend it, at least you'll have the process improvement knowledge behind it. And you'll be able to kind of, hey, Rachel, I think we should do this. You're like, I don't know, but well, in this book, I mean, you can give an example straight out of the book and say, here you go, there you go, kind of thing. So that's why we did it. It is based off the training I offer at Training 101 Academy, but the storytelling is really the fun part. Because I could have wrote a 15-page manual on how to do Lean Six Sigma, PDF, bullet statements, and no way would everybody would go insane reading it because there's thousands of those out there, thousands. To my knowledge, this is the only pick your own adventure book out there based off Lean Six Sigma. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is it.
I searched as well. I did not find another one, but there are a lot of corners of the internet that maybe I have not been in. So,
And it's unique. It's unique to you. Is there another book in the pipeline that you foresee?
We do. We got so I was there. It's under review of the DOD. We were this close to getting approved, and then the government shut down. So I'm hoping if the government opens back up here shortly, we should get approval, and that one should come back out. And I'm guessing December, maybe January, when that all comes and available online. But this is not the only Lean Six Sigma journey coming out. I'm working on another one right now with a different backdrop and a different problem, where I take realistic problems we may not had at Bay County and apply that in the book. So change the names to prep the innocent, but the storyline is all true, just like this one's all true. So it's all based off old process improvement projects I've worked with and other clients, and just kind of change it around, make a little more drama behind it, and then go. But the next one is dealing with literally a problem that we just finished up at Bay County here in Florida. So it's literally a real life story.
I love it. I love it. I love how personal that is. So is there anything else you want to share about yourself, Laura? I went ahead and dropped in your LinkedIn. Also, Emilio, I dropped in both the two links. Is there anything? By all means, feel free to utilize and drop some things in there. Like I said, it's recorded. But is there anything else that you'd like to add that's important? Or
I will add one last thing, and I'll be done. On Laura's website, my website, many other websites, they have free consultation, 30 minutes. 30-minute consultation. Free 30. Use it. Talk to somebody.
It's there to use, please.
Use it. Just book the meeting with whatever you're interested in. It doesn't have to be Laura, it doesn't have to be me. If you're about to retire, book it with me, obviously. Just asking those dumb questions that you're afraid to ask your peer group or your TAPs. If you're an officer, you're like, I don't want to ask that question because I should know the answer. Ask me. I have nothing to gain anymore. We'll be all right. If you want to write a book and you're scared to ask about it, because there's a lot of scamming out there in the old intranets and the old world out there. That's a face right there. She has a website in the chat. I will verify she's a real person. And we have talked because I have a text here where she called me an a-hole via text. I want the only client who paid her.
Yeah, you hold that title, probably always
I have a
will.
contract.
The only
I have a
client.
contract.
What'd
I have
you
a
do?
contract. I was being my pleasant self as always. As always.
Yeah, not asking
But I think,
for it whatsoever. No.
but definitely use those free consultations. Ask those questions. And I think a lot of people don't want to do that because they're either afraid to. Laura's not going to go on, every social media like, oh, this idiot just asked me this question. I can't guarantee that. No, I won't do it. But ask the question. Ask me. I've retired. I retired in 21. I've been out for a while. Either my friends were retired or dead. Who knows? No one's going back. So let's go do it. So just put that consultation in, put that 30-minute, send that text, send that LinkedIn message, spend 30 minutes. You might not like us. I mean, it's two separate links, by the way. We're not a team all the time, but do it, sit down, answer your questions, and then move on. You've made a new friend. You've made a new connection, and you might get some information that you didn't have before. So that's my last 2 cents.
And the worst that could happen is that you figure out that there's a direction that's not for you, and then you move on to the one that is for you. So, you can learn something either way. But I do want to just say thank you, Rachel, so much for your time and for having us. And I love talking about books with Emilio and whoever will listen to me talk about books. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. It was so lovely. This was almost kind of had like a bit of a podcast feel to it in a way.
Yeah, I love that.
So that
I used
was
to host a
kind of fun.
podcast, so that kind of makes sense.
I
Bring
know it was
podcast vibes.
unintended, but it kind of worked out. So I thought, I started thinking, this is kind of cool. We could do something along these lines, just something for the mental shelf. But thank you.
Put it right up there.
Yeah, thank you both. Laura, it was lovely to meet you. Honestly,
You as well.
I'm sure if there is somebody that I that's in that realm of industry or looking and needing some help in creative writing, I will definitely send them your way.
Thank you. I appreciate
help
that.
tee them up and get them ready. Emilio,
just steer them away from ChatGPT is all I ask. Just into anyone else's arms besides AI is all I ask.
Don't touch that. Well, thank you. Absolutely. I'll keep you in mind. Emilio, thank you as well. If people want to reach out to you for any of these training academies, you're willing to go to conference rooms, businesses, any
I'll
of
go
those
anywhere you want
kinds
me
of
to.
things, they can reach out to you through this. This is the link that they need to reach out to you, right? They can type in a message and they'll get a populated response, I assume. Anyway, thank you so very much and for sharing your story. Thank you for your service, truly, and for sharing your story. And I know it's very helpful to so many people and people that will listen to this. And as you progress in your entrepreneurial journey, it's going to help a great deal of people. And so I just want to personally thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, we support you. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
And I will be there next week sometime to drop off. I've got some copies for you. So I promised you a copy, and I forgot to order it. I forgot to order it. That was me. So, but I appreciate you. Thanks for having us. We appreciate. If you ever need anything from us, again, we try to do everything together with this thing. We'll be happy to kind of jump back on. We'll do this all the time. It doesn't matter to us. We like to talk about it, and so.
Absolutely. Well, let's definitely do this again. Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
Sounds great.
Hopefully with a greater audience or at least a podcast or something. Hey, I'm open. All right. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And yes, and enjoy this rest of this day. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Okay. All right. Bye.